subject matter of Plato. We have discussed these things, and what I have started selling is Plato. Some scholars consider Plato as physician. What a physician does is he will just analyze the illness and diagnose the illness, and he will say the solution for that. Right now, Plato, in his ideal state of republic, he started diagnosing the problem of Athens. And he diagnosed that Athens is suffering from a disease. What is that? Or some illness. The illness is inequality. Inequality. Now he said that Athens has two cities, the rich city and the poor city. Rich city means the ruling class, poor means majority of the poor. In Athens, majority people are the poor people, and this inequality may be the reason for revolution. This is what he has said. No. Why there is inequality? Because people sells the dreams. Oh, sorry, politicians sells the dreams. People buys the dreams. In their buying, they spend their money. In their selling, they earn their money. What does this mean? People come to power just to by selling dreams. After coming to power, they garner the wealth of the people. That is the thing. Right. Now, when I say two cities, that is the rich versus poor. Look at Indian context also. In India also, we consider that there are two Bharats, the rural Bharat and the urban Bharat. What does this mean? This means the rural areas are back that is poor, whereas the urban areas are rich. So in order to divide this gap of inequality, Government of India has launched many programs post 2000. Or before 2000, we used to call that there are two Bharats. Two Bharats means rural Bharat and urban Bharat. In the similar context that Plato has said way back in Greek cities, we also use the same term in the Indian context also. In the Indian context also. Now, the fundamental problem here is the inequality. Now, when it comes to inequality, why this inequality is there? Because politicians, after coming to power, they are earning the money. Hence, he diagnosed that the problem with Athens is, if diagnosed that the problem with Athens is the ruling party is after earning money. They are in search of the money. After coming to power, they are in search of the money. In search for their money, they are being corrupt. They are being corrupt. Hence, he says that the ruling class is corrupt because normally the ruling class has to rule in the interests of the public, rule in the interests of people. In the interest of people, the ruling class has to rule. But what the Athens rulers did is they are ruling in the interest of self. Hence, what do you mean by corruption in ruling class? Corruption here means not only taking wealth but also ruling for self interest is a corruption. Ruling for people's interest is the work, but rather than that, they are ruling in self interest. In self interest. That is called corruption. In ethics, you'll come across a term called corruption. Corruption is not just accepting bribes. This is previous year question in ethics. Not just accepting bribes, but also not doing your duties. Not doing your duties also comes under corruption. So, for a civil servant, Not accepting bribes or accepting bribes alone is not corruption. If you are not doing your duty, right, if you are absconding from your duty, then that is also corruption. You are required to do something, you are not taking any stand, or if you are silent on that, then that is called corruption. How UPSC has asked this is in this context. So Plato said that the problem with the so-called uh, ruling class in the Greek cities is they are very corrupt in the sense not only in the terms of wealth, but they are ruling for self-interest. They are ruling for self-interest without ruling for the interests of public. This means is using is using public office for private gains. For private gains, they are using the public office. Again, this is corruption. You should not use public office for your private gains. But the ruling class of Athens used to do this. Now, why do the ruling class go after their self-interest? Because as per Plato, they go for self-interest because they are ignorant. Right, I already said the ruling class is ignorant. As a result of their ignorance, they don't know what exactly is their work when they enter into the when they enter into the public institution. Hence, even after because of their ignorance, even after entering into the public offices, they will just be thinking about their own self-interest rather than thinking the interests of uh, the so-called rather than thinking the interests of the public. Hence, he said that, or Socrates said that, famous saying of Socrates. Socrates said this: virtue is knowledge. Yesterday I discussed the same thing. What is knowledge? Virtue. Whereas vice is ignorance. Or knowledge is the virtue, vice is the ignorance is the vice. That I discussed. Hence, as they are ignorance, they are wise men. Corruption is a wise thing. VIC, wise. Okay. So he diagnosed that the problem is because of their ignorance, the ruling class is going after money and power because in this money and power, their self interest lies. Why they go after money and power? Now the question is why the ruling class go after money and power? As per Plato, the ruling class goes for money and power because they consider money and power as the source of happiness. Source of happiness is money and power. As a result, when they are ignorant, Plato said that because in their quest for money and power, they are not doing justice to the people. They are not doing justice to the people. There is no justice in Athens city. Why no justice? Because they are using public office for their private ends. That is the thing. Because of this, not able to do justice to the people, they are failing to establish a just society. The ruling class is unable to establish a just society or a just state or a just state. When there is no just state, when the state is not just, there exists no peace, no harmony, and there will be always unrest in that type of states. Unrest in that state where no one will be having good life. As a result, what Plato wants a just state. an ideal state. Hence, in his Republic, he has spoken about the ideal state or the just state. Yesterday, I said Plato has written the books, right? In his Republic book, he was speaking about a just state or an ideal state because in a just state, you'll have good life. Otherwise, if the people, if otherwise, if the state is not just, there will be no peace, there will be no harmony. As a result, people will not have, no one will enjoy good life in that type of state. Right. Why this justice state is not present? Because people or the rulers are unable to do justice to the people. Why they are unable to do justice? Because they are after money and power. Why they are after money and power? Why they are failing to do justice? Because they are using public offices for their private gains. Why they are using? Because they are thinking that the source of happiness is money and power. As a result, they are unable to do justice to the people. Hence, in the Republic, Plato said, or Plato was concentrating on creating one beautiful state or just state. He calls that state as an ideal state. So, the theme of Plato in the Republic, in his book Republic, revolves around the establishment of an ideal state. Revolves around an establishment of ideal state. So, the book that Plato has written, the book that Plato has written, that is the Republic. This is the title of the book, and the subtitle of the book is concerning justice. Concerning justice. This is the book name. The Republic is the title of the book. Concerning justice is the subtitle of the book. So, what is the main idea of Plato in the Republic? I said he wants to create an ideal state. What is an ideal state as per Plato? An ideal state is a just state. How you can avoid, how you can establish a just state, or why just state is not present in Athens? It is not present because the ruling class is ignorant. In their ignorance, they are using the public offices for their private interest. If they are using public offices for private, why they are using this? Because they think this is what they gains happiness. But this is actually corruption. Hence, they are unable to do justice to the people. Hence, in that unjust society, unjust state, people will not have either happiness because there will be huge inequality and huge lack of harmony and peace. Why? Look at this. All this is because of ignorance. Hence, Plato, like his teacher Socrates, said, knowledge is virtue, ignorance is vice. Hence, you should have knowledge. That is what Plato said. So he wanted to create just a state in his republic, and he did exactly the opposite of this, or he said the remedy for this. This is what he has diagnosed in Athens state, and this is why few people call him as a physicist. Next, the thing is, so you got, I hope you got now, in his republic what he is speaking about. Now, if you look at justice, the term justice, the main idea of the entire subject of political philosophy, the main idea of entire political philosophy is the idea of justice. Political philosophy is nothing but thinking about or establishing about justice. Why philosophy is nothing but morals. ethics, right? So what is the ultimate goal of morals and ethics? To establish justice in the state. So the entire political philosophy is just about knowing the idea of justice. Hence, Plato, in his book, The Ideal State, is most concerned as the idea of justice, as he has propounded the idea of justice, as he is the first person who said about justice and who has spoken in depth in his book about justice. He is known as the father of political philosophy, because political philosophy is everything about justice, and he has given the idea of justice, and hence he is called as the father of political philosophy, because it is the most important element in political philosophy, that is justice. Hence it is right to say he is the father of political philosophy. Not only that, it is also right to say western political philosophy. Western political philosophy is a footnote of Plato. If you do remember this, I have said earlier also, the entire Western political thought is a footnote of Plato and Aristotle. Now look at this. Western political philosophy is a footnote of Plato. Why it is a footnote of Plato? It is a footnote of Plato because Western political philosophy is nothing but thinking about justice, and the person who has dealt about justice in depth for the very first time is Plato, right? And he is the one who has given this. Hence, he is known as the father of political philosophy, as well as he is known as the entire Western political philosophy is a footnote of Plato. Now, what is justice? The question is, what is justice? Justice is a value in political philosophy. It is a value, and it is one important or fundamental value. Fundamental value. What are the other values? What are the other values in political philosophy? What are the other values in political philosophy? The other values are rights, liberty, equality. Rights, liberty, equality. Now, when you compare all this, the most important or fundamental value is justice. Now, why justice is that significant value compared to other values in political philosophy? Why justice is that significant value when compared to other principles? Because it is justice which is the foundational value for other values. All other values are derived from justice. Hence, justice is the foundational value or fundamental value. Based on the foundations of justice, others' values gets built up. Hence, justice is known as architectonic principle. Architectonic principle. What do I mean by architectonic? It is the foundation. Architectonic means it is the arch through which the others spring. Right, the architectonic principle is justice. Hence, in political philosophy, though there are many other values like right, liberties, equality, justice is the fundamental one, because this is justice which is the foundation for other values like rights, equalities, liberty. Which means the other values are dependent on justice. The other values are dependent on justice, which means we cannot achieve rights, we cannot achieve equality, we cannot achieve liberty without justice. Without justice, you cannot achieve other rights. Hence, the entire philosophy or political philosophy is about justice, and justice is the architectonic principle. Why it is called architectonic principle? Without justice, the other rights of political science are invalid, or you cannot achieve them, like rights, liberty, equality. Hence, justice is the fundamental value of political philosophy, and if a state is not based on justice, in that type of state, you don't find the rest of the three things: rights, equality, liberty. So, if state is not based on justice, you do not find these things. We do not find these things. Hence, in any political system or in any state or in any society, in any political system or in any state or in any society, the fundamental or the virtue value is justice. Justice. As a result, John Rawls has said, there is one famous person called John Rawls. John Rawls famously said in his concept to justice that justice is the first virtue of any social system, of any social system, just like truth is the first virtue of any system of thought, any system of thought. This is the famous statement said by John Rawls in his concept of justice, or John Rawls, a famous proponent of justice theory. He has said this statement that justice is the first virtue of any social system. If you are living in any social conditions, it has to be just first. And it is as equal, as important as truth in any system of thought. In a system of thought, thinking, you have to think with the truth, right? So hence, as in the thought truth is important, in the social systems justice is important. Now, that is the reason why Plato in his Republic was that much worried about creation of a just state, and he has said a just state is an ideal state. As a result, he has written his book. This is called, Plato has written his book Republic, and the subtitle of that Republic is Concerning Justice. Hence, he says that the basic idea of a state is, or the work of a state is to establish justice, because it is from this justice the other values of equality, liberty, equality, equality, liberty, rights do exist. Rights do exist. Now, if that doesn't exist, then that is nothing but anarchy, where might becomes the right. There is no justice in anarchy, so no justice in an anarchy state, so might becomes the right. Hence, he says that if the state is not ideal, it is as equal as anarchy. This is what he says. So, if the state is not just, it is nothing but the so called anarchy, and